Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley here for ellenhudson.com. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am sharing a simple stamped handmade sympathy card, but I'm also sharing 5 tips for creating sympathy cards because I know that these are difficult cards to create, and I really wanted to put some useful information out here on the interwebs about creating these. Now, I have chosen this thistle stamp set. This is from the Essentials by Ellen line. It is perfect for fall cards, and I am going to be using that leaf, but there's a beautiful acorn and some thistle images as well. Now here's the color palette I'm working with today, a little unexpected, and I am going to be using a version of this color palette in this month's newsletter for ellenhudson.com, so be sure to stay tuned for that. It's a little different than this, but it has some of the same repeated elements. So I'm starting by stamping this leaf image from the Thistle stamp set in a few different colors. And my first tip for creating sympathy cards is try to create some ahead of time and have them in your stash. Create ahead and stash them, because oftentimes when we're trying to create a sympathy card, even if it's not for our own loved ones, we are hurting for the person who has lost somebody. And so by creating a few of these ahead of time, I know they're not fun to create, and having them in your stash, you're not kind of limited by the maybe dark cloud over your head that you're feeling, or that sense of grief and loss. And it makes creating these a little bit easier when you have that clear mind. Now, while I'm doing all of my stamping, I'm taking this lined by hand background stamp from My Favorite Things. I'm inking it up in some Catherine Pooler Twilight ink, and then I'm laying my Nina Solar White cardstock down, face down, onto my background stamp and just rubbing all over the back of this to transfer the ink to this pattern paper. And I absolutely love this background stamp. I think it is so versatile and perfect for creating tone on tone texture as well. Now, once I stamp that, I'm going to take it over to my trimmer and trim it down to 3¼ by 4¼ This will serve as like the base for all of my images and die cuts on the front of my card. So I'm just getting that prepped. And then I'm going to take the Abstract Paint Stroke stamp set, ink it up in some Catherine Pooler Hot Tub ink, and stamp that onto this panel. Now, my second tip for creating sympathy cards is choose natural elements, things that are from nature. There's something about nature images that really just work well for sympathy cards. I think there's something soothing about it and something that just really makes sense. So I'm using this leaf here. You can use leaf swags. You can use floral images. Those all tend to work really well. And think about the natural elements, not only in flowers and leaves, but in the things that you embellish with. I always think of water, and I've brought in kind of a water element using that hot tub ink. It kind of gives that illusion of water. And I will also bring in another natural element using some hemp twine. It is a very subdued way to kind of accent this card, but still a very natural element that I think really adds to this. So I've used the coordinating die to die cut all of my leaf images. I've placed them onto this little panel that I'm creating on, and I held them together with a piece of purple tape and flipped them over and added all my foam adhesive on the back. And then I'm going to add these as one big chunk onto this card panel that I'm creating. So that brings me to my third tip for creating handmade sympathy cards, and that is keep it simple. I think so many times in stamping and card making, we are so worried about using the latest and greatest technique when really we can create beautiful cards with simple stamping, and we don't have to be like blowing it out of the box to create something beautiful and meaningful. So today I've just created some really simple stamped solid leaves here. I've placed them onto a really beautiful, simple, kind of muted background here, brought in some natural elements. It's a very simple card to create, but it is very beautiful. Now for my sentiment today, I am using the Totally Random Sayings Volume 3 stamp set from the Essentials by Ellen line. There is a beautiful With Sympathy stamp in this stamp set. I am stamping it into the lower right-hand area of this panel using my Gina K Obsidian Amalgam ink, my favorite black ink. I'm just going to stamp that simply. I'm not doing any embossing or anything like that. And this brings me to embellishment. I am going to embellish this card, but my fourth tip for today is to skip the sparkle. Things that are like super over the top, like glitter and sequins, sometimes don't feel really appropriate on these sympathy cards. So today, to embellish my card, instead I've used the Essentials by Ellen clear droplets. They're still like shiny, but they're not super over the top sparkly. And they bring in, again, that natural feeling element, almost like there's water involved on this card. Now I've created my card base using some Essentials by Ellen oyster cardstock cut to 4¼ by 11 inches, scored at 5½, and I folded it over using my Teflon bone folder. And then I placed this panel on the top of this card base with some foam adhesive, and that finishes off my card today. And that brings me to my fifth and final tip for creating a sympathy card. It's what's on the inside that counts. Don't stress yourself out about creating some over-the-top card. Focus your energy on writing a heartfelt and sincere message on the inside, because that really is what counts to the recipient. And the thought that you've gone out of your way to create a handmade card really will make them feel special. So there you have it, a simple stamped sympathy card and 5 tips to help you create handmade sympathy cards. I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, I will have links to the featured products used in this project in the description at YouTube, but head on over to the coordinating blog post. I'll have that linked below. Over there, you'll find more still shots, more information, and a complete list of supplies. As always, thanks for stopping by and hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it has inspired you in some way. If it has, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications here on this YouTube channel so you don't miss any of the paper crafting and card making video tutorials here. Once again, thanks for watching, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.